All right, so today we're actually going to start something a little bit new. We're going to be talking about different types of power when it comes to electricity generation. So, here in the US, we use lots of different types of sources of power, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about um, how each of them compare to each other, in terms of cost, environmental impact, availability, that kind of thing. So, I thought we'd begin by first just talking about what we use. Okay, so here in the US, the first, the most prevalent source of power is actually natural gas. So, natural gas, some of you might have that in your home for heating or a cooktop or an oven. Okay, it burns very cleanly, it's very similar to propane. So, and that takes up a little bit more than 38% of all of the electricity generation. Okay, next we have coal. Okay, so coal, it comes in a solid form, kind of looks like briquettes. Okay, it's a type of rock that can be burned. It's almost entirely carbon, and this is one that has been continually decreasing over time. Okay, and which is why here in the U.S. we're actually producing less carbon dioxide than we used to, simply by switching from coal to more natural gas. Because while they're both fossil fuels, they both produce carbon dioxide. Coal produces a lot more. All right, next at almost 20%, we have nuclear. Okay, and the nuclear that we use is called fission, where you take a heavy atom and you split it into two smaller ones. Okay, and if you're wondering, this kind of iconic image of a nuclear power plant, that's actually steam, not um, like exhaust. All right, now we're getting into some of the smaller ones. So at around 7%, we have wind. Okay, that can be onshore or it can be offshore. Okay, so that can be on land or say in the ocean. So, okay, pretty close after that, we actually have hydroelectric. So think of dams. Okay, so like the Hoover Dam produces most electricity for Las Vegas. So when you dam a river, you're able to actually let some of the water flow through and actually generate electricity. Hydroelectric. All right, next we have solar. Okay, so solar can be in the form of solar panels, okay, like what you're used to seeing. And there are a few places around the world where they actually use mirrors to focus sunlight uh, and actually create electricity that way. So after that, we actually have what's called biomass. And that can come from a few different things. It can come from landfill gas. So when you have a landfill, it'll actually naturally produce methane, which is what natural gas is. So, like for example, over in Troy, they have a landfill that produces all of the electricity for the Hudson Valley Community College campus. Okay, so it can be done with garbage. So there are some plants that can incinerate garbage and actually use that to produce electricity. Okay, we have wood, which is probably one of the first fuels humans ever used. And then there's alcohol fuels like ethanol, and that's mainly used in like gasoline mixtures. All right, then we have what's called geothermal. So you can see it's very small. It hasn't gained a lot of widespread use. So this is actually using the heat of the earth. So it's usually around geysers and hot springs. So they actually use that heat to create electricity. And then lastly, we have other. Okay. And one that you might have been thinking about, but haven't heard yet, is oil. So oil is part of this 0.9%. Okay. And you might say, well, don't we use a lot of oil? And the answer is yes, but not for generating electricity. Okay. Oil is mainly used for transportation fuel, like diesel and gasoline, as well as heating fuel. So if any of you have oil heat, obviously that comes from oil. But very, very, very few power plants actually use oil. And also in that other title, so this is kind of like the hydroelectric, except you can put these in like a river that's flowing, or offshore where the tides come in and out, and they actually look kind of like wind turbines but underwater. And obviously there are some more in here as well. But this should give you a good idea of where we are as a country in terms of what fuels that we use. So you can see that we use a lot of different types. And to be honest, there's no way that we could switch to just one of these, okay, because of availability, cost, and environmental impact. Okay, so next lesson we'll be talking about what makes a fossil fuel and what makes something renewable or non-renewable.